Greetings, my name is Odin from the Odin's Musings YouTube channel, and I'm here on behalf of Aura Crystals. Today I'm going to be showing you about the Openwork Netted Rope, which is a very simple stitch you can use in order to make ropes and chains for your larger pieces that coordinate with your focal piece. Which is especially handy since you spent so much time creating your focal, you don't really want to do too much in order to detract from the work. So this very nice, hollow, springy rope is perfect for this kind of application. You can also have fun with patterns and create a standalone bracelet like this, and get creative changing up the shape and the size of your seed beads. For today we're going to be using two contrasting colors of size 11 seed beads. You will also need two end beads, something that you will use to decorate and close off the clasp. In these examples I've used 4mm pearls, but here I'm going to be using two size 8 seed beads. You will also need a clasp of your choice. In my case, this is a lobster claw accompanied by a jump ring. I am using a D-weight white Nymo. You can use a fairly heavy thread with this, probably between a 6 and 8 pound test of Fireline if that is your thread of choice. I am also using a size 12 needle, but feel free to use whatever you are comfortable with. Be sure to check down in the description box for a full list of materials as well as links to where you can purchase. And with that being said, let us get started. I'm going to start off by attaching my stop bead to my thread. So all I'm going to do is thread that on, pull it down, leaving about a 6 to 8 inch tail so that I can either continue my pattern or attach my clasp. I'm going to pass back through the bead so that I secure it in my thread, and it holds my thread in place while I work on the rest of the beadwork. If I use a spring stopper, all I'm going to do is open it up, pass it through one of the grooves, and then close it shut. We're going to start by creating our anchor for our netted rope. And these two colors are going to be indicated as so. We're going to have color A, which is going to be the main color around our rope, and then B color, which is going to be our points and what's going to help us out when building our design. So I'm going to start off by threading our base pattern of beads. Each unit of a stitch is going to be composed of 2 color A's, 1 color B, and 2 color A's. So I've threaded this on 3 times, and this is what the pattern looks like. So essentially you start off with 2 color A's, 1 color B, 4 color A's, 1 color B, 4 color A's, 1 color B, and 2 color A's. This is because as you divide this up, these are our 3 units of our ring. So I'm going to pull that down. Then I'm going to reinforce and form a loop by passing up through all of these beads once more. And when I pull that tight, a ring begins to form. I am only going to be working from the color B beads around the rope. The A beads are basically just going to be there as anchor points. So I'm going to, in order to create my next row, pass through until I am coming out of a color B bead. And now I'm ready to start my first stitch. So I'm going to add my base unit of 2 color A's, 1 color B, 2 color A's. Then I'm going to jump all the way over until I pass through the next color B. And when I pull that tight, my new stitch is in between the 2 beads there. Once more, add 2 color A's, 1 color B, 2 color A's, jump over until we go through the next color B. Finally, 2 color A's, 1 color B, 2 color A's. We're going to jump over and pass through the color B bead that we started from. And when I pull tight, we form a sort of triangle around. And if you pull even tighter, these loops start to pull up and point to form our rope. Now that I've finished my next row, what I need to do is step up so that I can form the row after. So I'm coming out of a color B bead from the first row. What I need to do to get to the next color B is to step up through 2 color A's and reach through that color B. And I'm ready to begin my pattern again with 2 color A's, 1 color B, 2 color A's. I'm jumping over and reaching the color B bead that is the highest point. So we are completely done with the B's on the bottom. I pull that through and we bridge the gap between the 2 B's. Once more, 2 A's, 1 B, 2 A's, jump over to reach the next B. My last set of 2 A's, 1 B, 2 A's, move over and jump across to go through the color B bead that we started from. It's going to have my new stitch on the other side of it. So when I pull that through, we will have completed our next row. Now I need to step up, so from this color B bead, I need to move up 2 A's and 1 B. From here, I can continue my stitch. 2 A's, 1 B, 2 A's, jump over until you find the color B that is sticking up the most. So we pull that through to bridge the gap. 2 A's, 1 B, 2 A's, jump over to the next color B. 2 A's, 1 B, 2 A's, jump over until we are through the color B that we started from. Step up by passing through 2 A's and a B to begin your next row. That is the basis of the netted rope. We're going to continue that on. If you're having problems with thread tension and your stitches popping out where you don't want them to, you can reinforce just by passing through each one of the beads once more, before continuing on and stepping up to the bead that you started from. That way these stitches don't move as much, and you can have an easier time finding the next bead that you need to go. Also, if you're having troubles with finding the B bead that you need to go to, what you can do is alternate between color Bs. So for example, I'm going to introduce a color C, and since all of my color Bs are purple, I'm going to add 2 A's, 1 C, 2 A's, jump over until I find my point of color B's. Once more, 2 A's, 1 C, 2 A's, jump over to the next B. Finally, our last set, pick up the B that we started from. Now when we step up, we pass through 2 A's and a C. Now I'm going to go back to 2 A's, a B, and a 2 A's. And now, since only C's are up, I'm going to pass through the next C. 2 A's, a B, 2 A's, pass through the next C. 2 A's, B, 2 A's, pass through the C that we started from. Now we need to step up to make our next row through 2 A's and a B. And now I'm only working with B's at the top. So I add my 2 A's, a C, and a 2 A's, pass through the next B. 2 A's, C, 2 A's, move to the next B. 2 A's, C, 2 A's, move through the last B. Then step up through 2 A's and a C, and create this row using B's. And so forth. Continue in that manner using whatever you are comfortable with, either adding your C's or just adding B's, until you have a reasonable length that you can work with. Then I can show you how to add and end threads. This is another one of those stitches where it's very complicated to start because of how little and how small the piece is until you build a few rows on it, but once you get to it, it's very simple to continue forth. So once you are ready to end your thread, you have a nice section that's very springy and fun to play with. We are going to knot off our thread so that we can attach new ones. So I'm coming out of the topmost B bead after stepping up from my last row. You always want to end up after completing a row so that it's easier to tell where you started. I'm just going to pass through a set of beads. I'm going down through 2 A's, a B, and 2 A's, down through the X's that our net is formed. And I'm going to form a half-hitch knot. So basically what I'm going to do is dig my thread under until I've captured the thread bridge between the 2 beads that I am at. I'm going to pull my thread until I form a loop, pass my needle through that loop, and pull tight. Then I'm just going to continue on, traveling downward, through a B and 2 A's, and do it again. So I grab my needle and dig down until I have captured a thread bridge between the 2 beads I am at. I pull through until I form a loop, pass my needle through that loop, and pull tight. Travel down another set, and do it again. I'm going to travel down a few more beads, and 3 knots is generally good for security, but feel free to do more if you want to. I'm then ready to clip my thread short. So for adding on new threads, we're basically going to do the same thing, but in reverse. So we want to end up coming out of one of the tallest bee beads right at the top. So I'm just going to follow my pattern down a few sets, and I'm going to pass through 2 A beads with my new thread and pull until I've got about an inch tail so that I have something to hang on to. Then I'm going to create my half hitch knot. I'm going to go underneath my thread bridge, pass my thread through until I form a loop, pass my needle through that loop, and pull tight, making sure that the thread ends up between the 2 beads that my thread is coming out of. From there, I'm going to travel up through a B and 2 A's. I'm going to pull through, but I'm going to be careful not to pull too tight because the first knot isn't very tight, and it could easily slip through. So from here, I'm going to add another knot. I've got my thread bridge. I'm going to pull my needle through, pass my needle through the loop I make, and pull tight. I'm going to travel up through a few more beads, make another knot, then finally travel up to my color B bead at the top. And my thread is nice and secure on this side, so I can go ahead and clip the end short. From here, I can continue on with my pattern by adding on the 2 A's, a B, 2 A's, and passing through the topmost B. And then I step up to create my next row. Just continue on until you have the length that you want. The next step would be attaching your clasps. So I'm going to start off after I have just stepped up from my new row coming out of the topmost color B bead. What I want to do is purse these points together. So I'm just going to pick up all 3 of those points to cinch the tube together. I'm going to close my row just by passing through that last bead that we started from. Pull tight so they're all pursed together. Now I'm going to add my accent bead in half of my clasp, pull that down, then I'm going to pull down and go through the accent bead again so that I trap the clasp. Then I'm going to pass through the opposite side of the color B bead that I'm coming out of. In my example, my thread is coming out of the left side, so I'm going to pass through the right side to anchor it in place. Then I'm going to move to the second color B bead. I'm going to pass up through the accent bead, pass through the clasp, pass back down the accent bead, and then through the opposite side of the second B bead. This one, once again, is coming from the left side, so I'm going to pass through the right side to anchor that in place. Finally, I'm going to travel to the third color B at the top, go up through the accent bead, go through the clasp, go back down the accent bead, and pass through the right side of the last color B. Now this is nice and well and secure, but if you want to reinforce, what you'd want to do is travel back through the first color B bead, go up through the accent bead, go through your clasp, down the accent bead, and then through the opposite side of the B bead again. Travel to bead number 2, go up the accent bead, through the clasp, down the accent bead, through the opposite side of B, number 2. Travel to B number 3, go up the accent bead, through the clasp, down the accent bead, and finally through color B. Once you finish that, you can go ahead and travel down these sides and end your thread with the half hitch knots. If you also want a little bit more security, I highly recommend going back and reinforcing up and down through the color A beads on the first and the second row, just so that it's nice and snug and secure at the very end. Now, if you'll notice, our opposite side, where our stop bead is, looks a bit different, and we're just going to fix that. I'm pulled off my stop bead, and all I'm going to do is basically pull off these 4 seed beads around each side so that I end up with the points at the opposite side. So I have 2 passes of thread in here. All I'm going to do is take my needle and just kind of pull at the thread until my thread comes apart. And since I've passed through this twice, I'm going to have 2 threads inside each of these beads, so I'll need to figure out which bead is loose and which one comes out first. So I've got this one. Then from here, I can pull off the first row, the second set of 4 beads, and the third set of 4 beads. And here, I have my 3 points, and I'm coming out of a color B bead. So now all I have to do is thread my needle on the tail end, and then I'm ready to purse all 3 of those beads together, like so that I end up with a pinched off cone on the other side. You can also reinforce your color A's once or twice down here, this row and this row, before adding the other half of your clasp. So from there, you just go ahead and attach the other half of your clasp, and you'll have a completed set. And that is it for the knitted rope. I hope you enjoyed. There's a lot of variations you can do with this. For example, these ropes have been created using size 15 seed beads, and you'll notice how staggered the colors are of the color B beads. That's because when I created this, I didn't use color Bs all the way down. What I did is, I did 1 row with the color Bs, then when I moved to the next row, I just added color A instead of color B. When I move on after a color B row, I would go up, I would add 5 color A's instead of 2 A's, a B, and 2 A's. Play around and experiment with patterns and colors and sizes that complements your jewelry pieces or a standalone project. Thank you so much for joining me on this lesson. Be sure to check out the description box down below for the full list of materials, as well as links to where you can purchase supplies. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe to Aura Crystals for updates on new techniques and design ideas. And if you'd like to see more of my work, feel free to check me out at Odin's Musings right here on YouTube and at odinsbeadhall.com.